Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
The Shannon Sharpe story has just gotten even crazier. So now what Shannon Sharpe is saying is that this was not a one-off situation where she is alleging rape. He is saying it was not rape. And this kind of kinky sex, the choking and all, was just their thing.
I mean, what this comes down to is what is forcible sex and what is rough sex, and where is that line?
That's right.
Shannon is saying that this was rough sex. She is saying in her lawsuit, the accuser, that this was forcible sex, not consensual in any way. What we've learned now are some more details about this relationship, which has been, they've been going together almost 3 years. And the accuser...
Well, you said together is an interesting word.
Because it's not a dating situation, is what we're told by people close to Shannon. This was not like them going out to dinner, them going out to events. This was purely sex, on average, over the course of the relationship, once a week. She lives in Vegas, he lives in LA, but they would meet up and they would have sex. And what we're told is that from the beginning, this was always a like BDSM scenario where there were handcuffs involved, dog collars, and choking at her request is what we're being told. Now,
Or, I mean, I don't even know her request as much as a mutual thing.
Yes, that they agreed that that's what they were going to do. But again, all of that is a description of, is to say this is what the relationship was. Specifically, she is speaking about, and she has sued him for 2 instances where she felt it was not consensual. One in October last year and one in January of this year. And that is why she is suing him for $50 million. Her attorney, Tony Busby, has, well, I guess I was going to say interesting, but maybe the response...
It's predictable.
Response you would expect.
And by the way,
that
that doesn't mean you don't believe it. It
Right.
is a predictable response from a plaintiff's lawyer.
So with all of this information, and again, Shannon Sharpe has been very open about all the things in their relationship. Tony Busby, her attorney, says someone should tell Mr. Sharpe that when you are digging yourself a hole, it would be smart to stop digging. The filed complaint and audio speaks for itself. Remember, she released, and Tony Busby released those phone conversations. He says, as you can clearly see from the text released by Mr. Sharpe's team, no means no, no matter what has occurred before. Now, that is a reference to one of the text messages that Shannon Sharpe and his attorney released, where this was from January 2nd. She says, I cried when you left because I begged you to put a condom on it and not put it blank, and you didn't listen. I don't care what our history is. No means no, Shannon. And we did, when we got that text message, when they released it, we did say that it seems odd that they would, I mean, I get it, they say they're putting it all out there, but that is an instance of the accuser saying no means no.
Can I tell you an interesting argument that he might make to that?
That Shannon's side would.
That Shannon's side would make. And I need to put this delicately.
Mm-hmm. Please.
What she seems to be saying is, you promised we would have sex with a condom and you didn't put a condom on.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we wouldn't have sex, but that the manner of sex would include a condom.
But if she said, I don't want to have sex unless you put a condom on, and you didn't, that's still a sexual assault, at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying one way or the other,
Right.
because honestly, I haven't reasoned the law on it,
Yeah.
but it seems to me that what his
That he
lawyer
can
is going to
draw
say
that
is,
line.
even if that's true,
Boy, that's and I know that's what lawyers are paid to do, but that's really picky, right? I mean,
well, when you look at it usually requires some kind of forcible act, rape. That's the
Right.
definition of rape.
Right.
So the act itself, according to that, was not forcible.
And I think she would say
it's
you
the manner that was it was fraud.
and I think she would say, you forced yourself upon me without a condom when I told you to
Yeah,
put
no,
one on.
I get it, but you see what I'm saying? That would be the counter argument there.
Sharpe's attorneys haven't made that argument for what it's worth. It's basically just boiled down to a he said, she said. Sharpe's people claim that it was all consensual. It was all BDSM that she agreed to and he agreed to. And now as far as Tony Busby and the accuser's side, they are saying that they agree. A lot of it was consensual, but there were 2 times in October and January that it was not. So that's what Busby's trying to say. No means no, no matter what has occurred before. That's their side and that's Sharp's side. And who knows where it goes from here.
I'm Dwight Thomas from Brooklyn, New York. And I just want to say that it's not looking good for Shannon Sharpe. And a part of talking about sexual encounters is consent. And if someone says that you should put a condom on before you engage, that's not giving you consent. I also want to say that it doesn't look good that he tried to settle for $10 million during mediation, the text messages where she says no means no, and the phone call where she says that he's trying to manipulate her. But I also think we need to talk about the fact that she's 19 and he was 54 when he met her. That's a huge issue. She's only 1 year removed from high school. What do you two have in common? Why is he talking to this young lady? And it's so easy for you to manipulate someone that young. So I just think ultimately it's not looking good for him. And based on the evidence that's come out, it just seems to be getting worse and worse. And I truly think that he's not going to win this fight.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, you made points there. You really did.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to move on.
Yes, to Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
Not over.
It is not over. Well, real estate-wise, it's not over because they still have their marital home, the home they bought together, for what, $60 million?
A little over $60 million. You've heard of a white elephant, right?
Oh, that's it.
Not the actual elephant, but
that
the
is
metaphor.
a White House.
It is a White House.
It is a large one.
And a lot of people in the real estate biz say it is now a white elephant, meaning good luck selling it, because it has sat on the market now for approaching a year.
Yeah, coming up on a year.
They haven't gotten a serious buyer in this thing yet. And it's really been, slim pickings over the last, in fact, all of this year.
And it is causing, there's at least a disagreement, we'll say, between Ben and Jen on selling it, and so how they sell it.
We should say that they are divorced. They have a property settlement. The outlier in all of it is that they have separately said, and we're going to sell our marital home, and we'll deal with that. They put it on the market. And everybody we spoke with in the real estate industry said, I think they're asking around $69 million. Right. Everybody we spoke with said it is way overpriced. This was a tough house to sell. When they bought it, it had been on the market a while. And they have a lot of money invested because they redid a lot. They have to pay a real estate fee. And so even if they get 68, they're basically going to break even. But everybody says 68 is dreaming. So,
and the fact that it's been on the market for almost a year would indicate that those people are correct.
That's right. So there is a division here over what to do.
Yeah. Ben is in the camp of lower the price. We got to unload this thing. And he is on board with the suggestions they've gotten from people in the real estate world that they should drop it by at least, what is the number you said? 15%?
At least.
Jennifer doesn't see it that way.
Not budging.
Yeah, and what's crazy about this is you have to think of how much money they are spending trying to offload this house. I mean, they're paying these realtors every month or whatever, like the contract period is. They're paying for this house to just sit there. It's a little bizarre that she's not okay with just saying, hey, we might take a loss here, but at least we're going to get rid of it. We'll pocket some money and it'll be done and we'll cut our losses.
Exactly. Cutting your losses. Like, why wouldn't you?
There are huge carrying costs to this house. And a couple of problems. One, they paid cash for the house. We're told after they bought it, they did take out a mortgage. I believe it was for around $20 million. But they have a lot of cash invested in this house. And secondly, selling it now. This is not that far from the Pacific Palisades fires. Mm-hmm. And go back to the wide shot there. There is a lot of brush. Insurance is insane. Insane.
Which is another reason why someone might not be, who was interested and had the money, might not necessarily snatch it up like that.
Hi, my name's Chelsea from Providence, Rhode Island. It appears that the second time was not the charm for Ben and J-Lo. They need to agree to a price reduction, especially with the insurance concerns popping up around the wildfires, and just move forward. throw money at a problem, cut the cord. They're already divorced. Why not move on? I'd love to see Ben back in Boston with his resting Ben face and his Dunkin' Donuts cup running around. And I'd love to actually see another engagement out of J-Lo. I love a Jennifer Lopez engagement.
No, they both bought houses in LA afterward.
I don't know about Ben in Boston, but there will be another Jennifer Lopez engagement. Just stand by. There will be.
Okay, we're going to take a break.
Eventually, there's going to be.
Oh, you're right.
All right, when we come back, Justin Bieber posting a very cryptic message, perhaps at the people he's cut out of his life, a very religious message as well. You'll see what he's saying. We'll come back. Justin Bieber has a message, a very strong message that seems like it is pointed at the people who used to be in his circle.
As in everybody who was in his circle.
Right. The people that he has now completely distanced himself from. This also could be a message to all of the fans who have expressed online a lot of concern for what's going on in Justin's life because they saw videos of him at Coachella where they thought he was out of it and they're just concerned. So this was the message that he said, although now on second thought, I don't think it's about the fans. I
don't think it's about the fans either.
Because of the way this message starts.
That's right.
So this is what he posted. Your Bible can't save you. That feeling of guilt can't be relieved. How? Not by going to church or reading your Bible, but just receive that God forgives. The message is forgiveness. And he continues, and honestly, if I was you, it would be hard to not be jealous if I saw me and Haley going so brazy. I don't know exactly what that means, but it's really up for us, and that's understandable why people can't stand it. I don't blame me.
Okay, I can decode this. We're working on a documentary, and I think I can decode this. When he's talking about, it doesn't matter how, essentially saying how awful you are.
If you receive
God forgives you.
Right.
It doesn't matter how awful you are. That is precisely the message that the church Justin is now ensconced in with Judah Smith as pastor. That is precisely the message that Judah gives. Mm-hmm. And what he's saying is, there are people who were in my life who have done some horrible things and things to me.
Yes.
But as horrible as they are, God will forgive you, and I'm doing just fine. And I think that's the decoding of this.
I think that's the first part of it. The second part does seem like fans, though.
Yeah, in the message, too, there is a theme of betrayal. And he specifically points out that he is being treated like crap out here. And he says that he would never spread rumors on the internet, like many people commenting about his health. And it seems like he's kind of upset with maybe people that were once in his inner circle that no longer are. Remember, there was like a big Rolling Stone article that came out last week from sources close to Justin that used to hang out with him saying that, he's not doing well. They're concerned about his health and that he's got money problems. All these stories are coming out, and it seems like he feels like maybe it's people once connected to him that are kind of contributing to negative stories about him. But then, of course, like you guys mentioned at the very end, he's like, Haley and I, we're the Joneses. People can't keep up with us. So on one hand, it seems like he's upset and, things are hitting him personally. But on the other hand, he's like reminding himself to overcome it under the eyes of God.
And even when he's talking about Haley, my sense of this is he's not talking about the fans believing it. He thinks there are people from his inner circle who are generating those rumors. And
exactly.
Charlie, you and I think, are in full agreement on this because we've been talking about it a lot. But I think this is Justin specifically talking to people he's ghosted in his life, saying, you've done some horrible things to me, but based on my teachings of my new church, God will forgive you.
Well, not new.
In a slightly sarcastic way.
This is Jess. I'm calling from Vegas, and Justin's message about guilt in religion is real, but it's landing at a time where his behavior off camera is kind of raising red flags. He's been crashing out on social media, and his fans are kind of uneasy. his words, they carry truth, but the timing makes us question, like, is this a breakthrough or is this a breakdown? We want the tea, like what's going on behind the scenes.
Well put.
Well.
That's you framed that really, really well. Okay, we got to move on.
Yes, to Katy Perry, who is reaching new heights again.
Can I just give you a quick gripe? They play fireworks at my gym.
I don't understand this. You keep complaining about this.
Single
Why is your gym playing a song that is 10 years old every morning?
It is on their playlist every morning.
Here's my suggestion to you. Get some earbuds.
It's when I
Play
swim.
your own music.
It's when I swim. And it's driving me crazy. Anyway.
Katy Perry's on tour. She launched her tour, did not start at Harvey's gym. She's in Mexico City. And yes, she is still leaning into that, I'm sure she would say, very thrilling event, life-changing event that everyone has been trashing since she and the rest of the crew of the Blue Origin capsule landed back on Earth. Because during her show, there were a lot of fans who came out dressed up in space gear. And
well, she's leaning in, isn't she?
And she brought him right up on stage.
What's your name?
Daniel.
Danielle, where are you from?
Mexico City.
What's your name?
Kevin.
Kevin, where are you from?
From Mexico City as well.
Amazing. What do you do in Mexico City?
And I'm on my laptop.
Like a job.
What I do?
Yeah, what I do.
Want to play the game that I'm an astronaut or really I
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go to space, no one's going to put limits on your dreams.
play games as well.
You play games too?
Sometimes.
What? What was that conversation?
I don't know.
Was that just lost in translation, the whole thing? I don't know what was happening there, but...
You know, Katy's always been about space. One of her biggest hits was E.T., so she's always leaned into the space, you know, aspect of her visuals and things like that. And if there's one thing about Katy Perry, you know, vocals aside, she's going to put on a good show. And this looks like a really great show. It's really fun, a lot of space theme. She's flying, there's inflatables.
Now, there is something hysterical, because you know that people have gone hard on Katy and the
the rest
female
of the crew.
On the Blue Origin flight.
I don't know if this is going hard, but Camila Cabello
It's
had
hysterical.
something she wanted to add to the mix. She entered the chat with this post saying, I didn't have the budget to fly to space to promote my tour dates, so I made this TikTok instead, where she's holding up the dates, the locations of her tour.
That is so funny.
Hi, it's Mika from Las Vegas, and Katy's definitely making a statement with her intergalactic theme to the critics, and her crewmates are even standing up for her, Gail and Lauren Sanchez. I do think it's a little tone deaf, and that's why she's getting so much heat for it.
A singer does not want to be called tone deaf. But I get your point. We're going to take a break.
All right, when we come back, the race...
This is great. The great race.
The great race. This is really about humanity, the sperm race. It actually is important to humanity.
It actually really is.
And when we come back, we're going to be joined by the two competitors,
the donors,
who will be going head to head,
so to speak,
when the sperm race goes down.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
Justin Timberlake made Portland kids' dream come true by joining a bike bus ride. And they always listen to Justin Timberlake.
Cry me a river when they fall.
It's TMZ.
Well, Los Angeles is bracing for the biggest event here since, I don't know.
Forget FloJo. I mean, this is a way better race.
The sperm race. We told you about this last week. We had the guys on who came up with this idea.
Brilliant guys, by the way.
Brilliant. To have an actual race between sperm cells to see whose cells are faster.
And by the way, this is actually a really interesting and good cause, because this has to do with fertility and shedding light on it, because there has been a problem with fertility with young men. So this is actually an important issue, but they decided to make it a hometown rivalry between UCLA and USC.
Yeah, actually, I guess this is the biggest event since the last football game between USC and UCLA. So joining us are the competitors for tomorrow night's competition, Tristan from USC and Asher repping for UCLA. Welcome to TMZ Live, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
All right.
What's up, TMZ?
So we are like
You're just over 24 hours from the competition.
We are all in on this. So I think we've kind of set up what this is about. There are thousands and thousands of people who were eligible to be the competitors here. Why'd they choose you guys?
You know, I think we're both really good candidates. We're able to, lock in under pressure. And I think both of our missions are to be the healthiest we can possibly be. So on top of being the most healthy we can be, we also want to be the first professional sperm racers. And we were the ones that could take it to that level that it needs to be.
Yeah, they had like kind of a scouting process. It was actually this guy who was the chairman of the Sperm Race League. But essentially they would come around, they would get, notes from people on who takes health seriously, like who actually cares, who's been already doing it. Because your sperm for 70 days is made. So we needed people who are already healthy because this is the last second event. But we had some challenges. We had some interviews, some betting. And yeah, I was chosen. I'm assuming it was the same for Tristan. We just don't talk much because we kind of hate each other. But
how do you guys prepare for this? So I know we spoke to the organizers who said that a lot of this has to do with biomarkers and that there are certain things that you can do to be healthier when it comes to fertility. So I'd imagine that's been part of your regimen, guys?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that you can really fix your own fertility. You can, of course, it's a lot up to genetics. That's the main component. But you can fix your diet, you can fix your lifestyle. And so what we've been doing, we tested our biomarkers, we got blood work done, and we can see what we're deficient in. And so I was deficient in vitamin D, some B12, and I can see that like my testosterone is way higher than Asher's. So I know I'm just going to win the race. And we're taking everything very seriously. We're looking at this as being in, like getting the LeBron treatment for sperm racing.
I think we have to allow Asher a rebuttal to the testosterone jab.
Thank you, guys. Well, so while it's true his testosterone was, while we got the blood work done, temporarily higher, it might be because of the circumstances recently where we've been involved with the sperm race. And, I've not been sleeping well prior to this race. In the past week or two, I have been sleeping well. I've been eating well. But for me, really nothing much in my life changed because I have been living this lifestyle for about 6 years. Seed oil-free, processed sugar-free, pretty much a carnivore diet, but it's more animal-based because I'm eating fruit and such. But yeah, so I've been training, but I've been working out hard. I've been eating well. I've been sleeping well, taking care of myself for 7 years. So it doesn't really feel like I'm training that hard. It just feels like I'm living my life. But the only hard thing I would say is getting to bed on time because currently I'm not living in my dorm. I'm actually in the Sperm Racing HQ, which is kind of tough when you have a bunch of 17-year-olds up late every night, trying to, let's go play, some whatever game here, video game there, but I have to sleep, That's the hardest part.
So,
you got to ask a question.
I got a couple of questions. One of them is, when do you produce the sample?
The cells.
I mean,
right.
Is it done right then? Is it done before and they preserve it? I mean, I'm not trying to get too graphic, but how does that work?
Yeah, it's probably the most asked question I get on campus or on my Instagram or whatever. It's going to be produced that day. So a few hours before the event. If we freeze it, it's going to slow it down a little bit. And sperm survives for around like 6 hours. So it's going to be before the event. It won't even be like during the venue. No one's going to see that. It's not going to be public.
We're assuming that.
Yeah. I mean,
we made it out of assumption.
Right.
Yeah.
People will just be showing up to see the cells race.
I think Tristan forgot. We changed it. It's actually going to be like there's a halftime show.
No.
Coming out, and the rapper will come out as we go get the extractions in the back.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Well, Ty Dolla $ign is going to be like the halftime performer.
What are the bragging rights if whoever wins? I mean, is this going to be populated by lots of USC and UCLA people, or do you win a prize, or?
This is basically the greatest event sport. Let's thrash genetics. It doesn't matter how tall you are. Doesn't matter how muscular you are from birth. This just purely is based on your diet, based on your lifestyle, based on what you're doing for yourself, right? So I think the bragging rights are bigger than any sort of basketball or football or any other giant sport competition because this involves all of it. And on top of that, it's like, okay, if you have sex with a woman now, it's like she'll be scared of getting pregnant for forever.
That's a good point. I never thought of that. You're right. He won the sperm race.
Trojans, all right? You wrap it every time.
And listen, Asher and Tristan, May the best sperm win.
Yeah.
The best sperm win.
Man, the bragging rights that you guys are going to have, and really your schools will have bragging rights.
This is fantastic.
Let me
good
say,
luck, guys.
Trojans lead the victory and wins in all sports around. So this is going to be no different.
Okay, we're going to follow this. You're going to be on TMZ tomorrow, just so you know.
Tomorrow night, we'll see it.
Awesome.
Great to meet you guys.
All right.
Nice meeting you. Good luck.
Thank you.
I love this.
I never,
love
ever,
this.
ever
This is hysterical.
thought that was something we were covering.
This is fantastic. I'm proud. Okay, we're taking a break.
All right. When we come back, Jon Cryer, he has something to say about the Oval Office, who he would like to see there instead of Donald Trump. Someone he used to work with very closely and you would never, ever, ever suspect of being president. Welcome back to TMZ Live. Jon Cryer from 2.5 Men. No secret, not a fan of President Trump. He is one of the more vocal people in Hollywood when it comes to that. We know the...
And if I can say, also, in the past, not a fan of Charlie Sheen.
Right, because we all know what happened on 2.5 Men, and Jon for a long time had blamed Charlie for killing the show.
Right.
They had the golden goose, and then it was dead.
Right.
So, how would he weigh those two men against each other if he had to choose? Well, now we know because Jon Cryer,
or he used one to slam the other.
Yeah, I guess you could definitely look at it that way. Jon was on the Midas Touch podcast with Ben Masilis, and this is what he had to say about the Oval Office.
As many of the issues that Charlie faces, I do think he'd be a better president. So I don't know that it's fair to completely lump the two of them together. Trump has always been comfortable with saying whatever stupid thing he said because most people sort of wrote him off as harmless and didn't hold him responsible for those things. And I think part of his allure to the people who like him is that he says whatever stupid thing he's thinking. They think, well, that's him being authentic. But he and I've always he's that old guy at the end of the bar who thinks he knows how the world should work. But he's really kind of a loser.
So here's the problem, I think, with this. And this has nothing to do with whose politics you're on. If the idea is you are trying to win over people, what he's essentially saying is Donald Trump is stupid. Anybody who follows him has stupid views too. And that's one of the things that made Democrats lose the last election. Because when you look at the polling, look, there's a lot that people are horrified at, that, killing, research for childhood diabetes and all sorts of other things. But when you look at the polling, even though he is down on specific issues, in terms of overall, his approval rating hasn't slid. So the way to reach those people, I don't know it's to do with that way.
It's not throwing out the word loser and comparing him to Charlie Sheen.
And just to say it's a dumb guy at the bar who says stupid things, because a lot of people seem to agree with those things, right or wrong.
And you know what? I've heard, I think a lot of the people on the Democratic side have been coming to that realization. I, in fact, heard somebody from Kamala Harris's campaign this week say that, that we made a mistake by not trying to go after some of those voters and just discounting them and maybe, disparaging them in some cases. So I think that's something that a lot of the Democrats are actually coming to the realization right now.
Hi, I'm Kimberly from Austin, and I agree with Jon Cryer for one reason and one reason only. Yes, Charlie Sheen and Trump are egomaniacs, and they are addicted to power. Right. But the real difference is that Charlie Sheen in his tiger blood finally came to terms with his limitations, and his problems affected those in his immediate sphere of influence pretty much. But we're kind of in a situation now where we're all being beat up by the cultural and economic disasters that seem to be happening daily. And we're only in the first 100 days of this regime. So yeah, if we can have someone who has bankrupted multiple businesses, that's driving our economy and our country headfirst into a recession on purpose, why not put Charles in charge? And how much worse can it get?
By the way, I think the 100 days is next Thursday. It's next Thursday. Wow.
Get down.
We are going to move on.
Yes. Moving on now to a big change.
I don't get this. I don't get
They
this.
said Fyre Fest 2 would never happen, And apparently is still not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Or when it happens, I don't know if it happens.
No. I mean,
would they still call it 2?
It's not going to happen.
It would have to be 3, right? 2 just never happened.
Right, 2's gone.
Anyway, Billy McFarland, the guy who behind Fyre Fest, is out of the game, though. He is done with this and says he is selling
the IP.
For Fyre Fest. And I guess it's basically him saying, let this be someone else's problem.
I don't know who's going to buy this.
I can't tell if it's valuable or completely invaluable.
If somebody starts a Fyre Fest 3, who is going to believe this? Here's what he's saying.
I think it was like the long and hard realization that, Fyre is way bigger than me, and I'm holding Fyre back. So if I'm not in charge and I pass the reins off to somebody else, I think the brand can go and flourish. The combination of Fyre and Billy just creates such like a massive media wave right now that it just scares a lot of people off. Yeah. So I think that if a bigger company who has the infrastructure to handle like this media wave can run with Fyre Festival, the vision could be executed. And I want Fyre to succeed more than I want to succeed. So we got to do what's best for the brand.
Yeah. So if you sell it, do you still want to be involved with it, or are you just trying to get some money to help support it? Exactly.
I hope they hire me.
Yeah, so, I mean, Billy's finally thrown in the towel on this one. I mean, he released a statement also where he just gets into depth about how he really tried to actually make it work this time around, but he just realizes he can't get it done. But Harvey, like, the Fyre Fest brand is super famous. Like, I know for all the wrong reasons, but people know it. People are interested in it. Billy's already sold I think part of the Fyre IP to some guy who's starting a streaming service just to use the name. So I do think that it is valuable and that someone like Live Nation or that's actually can put on this event will swoop in and actually get it done.
We'll see what happens. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the Democratic Party looking at their vice chair of the DNC and saying, what are you doing? David Hogg, we told you that he has a plan to primary some of his own party members. It is not going over well with the rank and file. We're going to be joined by an expert on the Hill when we come back. Absolute chaos in the Democratic Party right now.
Triggered by a young man.
Yes, a young man who is in leadership of the Democratic Party. David Hogg, who is the vice chair of the DNC. We had him on last week telling us about his plan to
primary certain Democrats around the country for various reasons.
Some of them who you've just felt have been in office too long,
or are
stale,
or are ineffective. But age was a factor for him, not the factor, but a factor. It is not going over well among some people in the Democratic Party. There are people who are furious and saying that David wants to earmark $20 million to primary Democrats when that money should be used to win seats. And there are people who are saying this is a betrayal.
And now the chair of the DNC is very subtly, or not so subtly, threatening David to stay out of the primaries.
Stay neutral or leave your position.
Right. So for more on how this is sitting on the Hill, which is clearly not well, joining us right now is Politico's congressional reporter, Nicholas Wu. Nicholas, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. So,
boy, you've been busy, huh?
Yeah. Which way is the wind blowing in the Democratic Party? Are there people within the ranks who are supporting David, are most opposing him? What?
Well, I think the really interesting thing about the whole controversy that David Hogg kicked off here was that a lot of Democrats I talked to, would privately concede that, perhaps he has a point that, some of the older members of the party did need to have a conversation about retiring, or folks who were seen as less effective as members of Congress needed to get their act in gear. But the biggest issue was that he was doing this, as a member of the party leadership. The argument being you couldn't have the person who's supposed to be the goalkeeper, also being the referee, right? So that's kind of been the big controversy in the party. But even then, we're still seeing lots of different primary challengers launch to older members. We're seeing retirements trickle out. And
two senators yesterday said they weren't running for re-election. Durbin and one other.
Yeah, the number 2 Senate Democrat, Dick Durbin, long been rumored that he was going to step aside. He announced his retirement yesterday, and a lot of Democrats praised him for passing the torch before he got too long in the tooth. And then you had another Democrat, Jan Schakowsky, who also Illinois congresswoman, who we reported yesterday was starting to privately tell her allies she was going to retire.
So there are people in the party who feel like it's a good idea, but this shouldn't be coming from David. Is any of that, any of the criticism of David based on his age?
Certainly might be a part of it. I mean, I talked to Democrats who were kind of, took some offense to the fact that they felt like he was kind of skipping the line and putting this all out publicly, when like normally what happens in the party is that, there are kind of quiet conversations that are held about, whether someone can stay in office, how long they should be sticking around, and so on. But like, what Democrats have to respond to right now is this very real appetite in the party for change. And as we've seen in these past few months, the base has really not reacted very well to how Democrats have tried to resist Trump, whether it was with those signs at the joint address, speeches. For a lot of Democrats, that isn't cutting it.
I remember when I was in college and took political science, there was a just standing joke in Congress. The longer I'm in Congress, the more I like the seniority system. So, these guys kind of have a vested interest in it. But David is saying, with a 28% approval rating among our own party, we need to make some fundamental changes. And that means 86ing some of the current members. So even though it's bad cough, the cough medicine doesn't taste good, it may cure the problem if he can re-energize the party. So that seems on its face kind of like a compelling argument.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Democrats I've talked to, really kind of saw him as almost a flawed messenger in a lot of ways for this conversation. But it is a very hard conversation Democrats are going to need to have.
Do you think he'll prevail, or do you think he's going to lose this one?
I think the question is not so much whether he'll prevail in this, but I think the question is really like whether he will be able to keep his DNC position and do this, because it seems like party leadership is really trying to get people to pick a lane of how they want to go about this, and it is a very hard position for someone to occupy a position of leadership, but also potentially play a role in trying to force people out of office.
Well, I guess that's the question, right? Would David sacrifice his position as vice chair in order to continue with this plan?
Based on what we've seen of him, I think he would.
I think he would,
I
too.
think he would.
Yeah.
I think what I find really interesting about this whole effort is that he's taken pains to, try to do a little bit of cleanup after, the initial headline about trying to force Democrats out. He said that he, won't be playing in districts where, they're trying to take out a Republican. He isn't going to go after other, very, very highly respected Democrats like Nancy Pelosi. Instead, it's, others who might be a little too long in the tooth.
I just would like to define long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Because the older I get, the longer the tooth has to be.
Nicholas, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It really is interesting because they got a problem with approval within their own ranks. So something's got to get shaken
I think
up.
what Nicholas heard from some members is true. They know that what he's saying makes sense. They just don't want it either. They don't want it coming from him, or they don't want to sacrifice themselves.
Right. Okay, we are taking a break.
All right. When we come back, Ivanka Trump has some new playmates with her down in Costa Rica. We will show you why she's hanging with Gisele Bündchen. They actually have a lot more in common than maybe you think. Well, Ivanka Trump has been spending a lot of time down in Costa Rica, and she had some company over the weekend. Turns out, we know Gisele Bündchen is a big fan of Costa Rica, has a house down there.
Yeah.
Used to be her and Tom Brady's house.
I know.
Now
Never sat right with me that she went there with Joaquin. But anyway, I digress.
But now it's hers.
Yes.
And Joaquin's, I guess. But she was down there over the weekend with Ivanka, hanging on the beach, along with Carly Kloss as well.
Wow.
We know that Carly and Ivanka have been friends for a long time.
It's really surprising to me, Charles, just because obviously Ivanka Trump being Donald Trump's daughter, Gisele has always been somebody who has been anti-Donald Trump.
It was a thing with her and Tom.
Right.
when they were
Meanwhile,
together.
Tom and Donald had a close friendship at one point.
But Ivanka is getting some jiu-jitsu training from Joaquin.
Right. Her kids do as well. They go to his academy.
Really, Joaquin is bringing everybody together here. Yeah.
I don't know. Tom might have a different answer, but
yeah. I'm sure he would. All right. Got to move on now. It is your favorite time of the week. Tim is here with his rejects.
What's going on? All right, so have you guys ever been swimming with dolphins?
Yes, I have. I don't encourage this.
No, don't encourage it. But
No.
if you want to do it out in the wild, this guy, he got a little jetpack.
Now that's better.
Yeah,
you do it out in the wild.
Got a jetpack. He went out in the ocean there, and he goes underwater, swimming with the dolphins there, and having a good time. And
now that is cool.
How amazing would that be?
Yeah, and he's not bothering them and just taking in the view. Yeah. I like it. I like it.
So cool.
Not most people are going to be able to do that, but okay, check it out.
True. All right, so anytime you put a car on a lift, like at the mechanic shop, things can sometimes go right, sometimes they can go wrong. Check this out, this car here.
I was pretty sure they were going to go wrong, because that's why you were showing. What happened?
Right off the lift. I don't know. Maybe he didn't tighten it enough. I don't know. But
what do you call? How do you call the guy who owns the car and like who's in there for an oil change?
Right. Sorry, it fell off.
You're going to need a little bit more than an oil change now, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Who's going to get hurt here?
Slip and slides can be fun. I don't recommend going down a slip and slide on a hill feet first, but this guy did. But he's nice, pretty cool.
Oh, that is not.
He tries to go over the water there. He doesn't quite make it, but
yeah. What did he hope was going to happen? Is he on a board?
It's not much of a. It's not like a river. It's just
I don't know if he was thinking that much, but that far ahead. But nonetheless, he's okay. He got up.
Right, minus a separated shower.
Future rocket scientist, right
exactly.
there. All right. Thank you, Tim.
All right, thank you.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Jen Garner celebrating a milestone, playing the saxophone in a marching band? Maybe. This is not a movie role. I know what you're thinking, like, oh, this is got to be a movie. It's not. This is real life. You'll see it when we come back. By the way, if you didn't notice, Harvey's not here anymore. Babcock's
It looks
stepping in.
a little different.
Harvey's off working on one of our other 18 productions. But we're going to leave you now with something really cool for Jen Garner. So her company, Once Upon a Farm, celebrating a milestone, and she decided to bring in a marching band. Sure, she could have just brought in a marching band and everyone enjoyed it, but why not join in herself?
Oh, she played.
Jen Garner, she's got chops.
I can't read music without these. Okay, now I've got it. Come on, girl.
That is the UC Irvine Marching Band.
You know, Charles, in 6th grade, I played the alto saxophone as she is playing there, and I give her my stamp of approval. She is...
For their 10th anniversary, the company's... She could have gotten you way cheaper than the UCI Marching Band, I'm sure. Just something to think about, Jen. That's gonna.
I would have paid to be there.
That's going to do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.